We are looking at my probability model for predicting life on other planets, and today we are siloing on my pressure driver. For those of you that don't already know, my model is a product operator applied to 5 different drivers, specifically temperature, pressure, geological activity, the chemical composition of the body or world, and its environment, its physical environment. And the purpose for this model is to orient researchers, space explorers, people trying to search for life in the right direction. I want to help them inform their decision making on which worlds to send technology to, which worlds to gather data and orient instruments to look at these worlds. And lastly, maybe one day visit in the search for life. That is the goal of this model, and I think when it's all said and done, it will be the best one out there for this purpose, hopefully. Without further introduction, I kind of want to just jump into my pressure driver, which is very similar to my temperature driver in that it is utilizing a sigmoidal function once again, but this time we are looking at a range between 0.5 atmospheres at the lower boundary and 900 atmospheres, and these are Earth atmospheres, at the upper boundary before it begins to descend in the driver. Now, the lower end is going to have a much steeper falling off because the pressure, very, very low pressures quickly cause systems to go awry and enter the gaseous phase, which we'll see in a moment here. One of my 2 main ideas is we do not want the environment to be primarily gaseous state material or matter. We need some liquid form, some solid form to encase a metabolism zone to drive some sort of life form energy transfer so life could exist. So we have a sensitivity factor K3, and this is going to be set to 0.005 for this reason. So we have a very steep descent in the sigmoidal function around this range of 0.5 and below. Now, I also did not choose 0.5 arbitrarily. We have seen that birds can actually fly roughly 30,000 feet, which is roughly 0.25 Earth atmospheres. So I'm actually being a little bit more conservative at setting it to 0.5, just given because birds already have their tissue and metabolic state and organ systems and skeleton, and their entire bodily functions are already formed, and so they can reach higher heights and still fly and survive. But that doesn't mean they can form there, or even that it would be ideal for a life form that we see here on Earth, a biochemical system, to form and exist at that level. So we set it to 0.5 atmospheres. On the upper end, the sensitivity factor K4 we are setting to roughly 10. So this is a much, much more gradual decline in the value of the sigmoidal function. And so this will mean at much greater temperature ranges, you can still have a high probability of life forming, according to my model and my work. Now, I also did not pick 900 atmospheres to be an arbitrary point. That is roughly how deep beneath the ocean deep sea creatures thrive and live. So there is precedent there that life could exist at this level of pressure. But if you increase it, it becomes less and less likely. So that is the whole point. We were trying to eliminate extreme environments to find the highest probability of life forming somewhere else, while also maintaining the fact that there could be things we don't understand or don't know. So my model keeps things still somewhat broad, and that it could capture a system that could form life that we wouldn't see here on Earth using organic compounds. The next point is, I've already touched on the main idea. We do not want gaseous phases. So at very low pressures, the gaseous state is the most likely outcome. But we can actually offset this a bit with very low temperatures. So that's where we're going to add in a second term to my expression, and we're calling it a temperature buffer. And this is a Gaussian term that will increase the probability if you are centered around a low temperature, which I have set to be the midline between the lower range of temperatures, which is 125 Kelvin to 225 Kelvin. So our T naught term is going to be 175 Kelvin. And then we have our standard deviation in the denominator, which I have set to roughly 40, giving it a nice range around 175. And then we have to amplify it a bit to 2, so my A term is going to be 2. That coefficient will be 2. The main idea here for this term is that it'll drive d of p, d subscript p up, which would drive the p subscript life, probability of life, or my POL. It will increase that for the world. Of course, when it's around 175 Kelvin. So we have our buffer, we have our habitable pressure range, two terms that we can use, and we only use the temperature buffer when the pressure is below 0.5 atmospheres and temperature is 225 Kelvin or below. Lastly, the second main idea is the higher pressure range. So at very high pressures, around above 900 atmospheres in this case, we are seeing that the boiling point increases with pressure. So structure and stability is actually reinforced at higher pressures. And only at a very extreme temperatures can you really alter this and cause molecules to enter their gaseous phase because the boiling point is so much higher. So we don't actually need to add any terms or do anything to modify our driver here because it's already accounted for in my temperature driver, which if you haven't seen that video, you can watch it as I've already created it. And I talk about penalties in that one, so it can be a little bit confusing now that I'm calling everything drivers. Hopefully it's not too confusing, but I am consistently going to use drivers from here on out. That is where I kind of want to wrap up this video, and so I'll see you guys in the next one.